Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and you are with Dan and Jesse on Talk Football for another episode of our series. We're going to be covering Manchester City. Going to be having a look at how the season went, the transfers, the ins, the outs, the ups, the downs. That's what we're going to be discussing here today, this evening. Thank you very much for tuning in. We really appreciate you coming and watching the show. You could put a like and a subscribe on. That'll be fantastic. If you ever want to be on the show, you ever want to put anything, put a comment in there, send us a message. We're really out here trying to help you guys and make some good content that's entertaining, and we've really enjoyed, making this stuff. So kicking off, Jesse, how have you been, mate? How are you?
Good, man. Always good.
Always good. Now this is it, and we are here discussing the current Premier League champions, Manchester City. Yo, Patrick in there. What's up? Thanks very much for popping on. Really appreciate it, mate. I'm going to have a little opportunity later on, mate, if you're still free and available, just to come on and have a chat. And as a City fan, you'd be the perfect man. But this is certainly not going to be a bashing. It's not about that. There's no agendas. This is about discussing what went right, and in our opinion, what went wrong. And this is where it is. So we'll start with, they won the Premier League, Jesse. Deserved winners, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you feel their season went?
Yeah, man. Liverpool taking them down to the wire, ultimately lifting the title. I think I don't want to say success or failure. I don't think that's fair. I think that the cup competitions were clearly not their priority this season, minus the Champions League, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But I think the league and the Champions League were the priorities.
Yeah.
So I think what I would say is maybe just underwhelming in the end, though you guys pushed them close, which put a lot of pressure on them for the Champions League. So,
and I think that's absolutely fair to say, because you have to judge each club by its own standards. How you doing, Jamie? Nice to have you on the show, mate, as always. But genuinely, this is where it comes from. Manchester City standards are here. They are number one priority. Their standards are win the league, win the cups, win the Champions League, to still win the Champions League, which they haven't been able to do as of yet. This season, for me, I absolutely agree with you. And I've said this from the start with you, Jesse. The domestic trophies were not their priority. And I concede that, and I give them that they didn't want to be in the League Cup, and they didn't really want to be in the FA Cup, because what was more important was winning the Premier League, and most importantly, winning the Champions League. I think that is the jewel in the crown that they're missing with that. And I feel like they missed out. I feel they missed a massive, massive opportunity and ended up just winning the Premier League. And I say just because for them, that's baseline. That's what they should be doing. It's not a case of, that's the achievement, that's a success. Because they want to do that every year. They've done it 4 seasons out of 5. They're making the Premier League exactly what Pep Guardiola does. He makes it its own. He makes whatever competition he's in his own competition, whether it's the Bundesliga, whether it's La Liga, and whether it's the Premier League. He dominates. But what matters now was going that one step further, going to the Champions League. And it was not a failure, because as you say, it's a difficult one to suggest, but a massive disappointment. Would you think anything different to that?
No, it's definitely a massive disappointment, and you could see it. It was written all over City fans' faces. A lot of people say, well, we didn't expect Pep. Like, it's not part of the job description to have to go ahead and win the Champions League. But it's written all over Pep's face. It's written all over the City fans' faces. It's going to be, if you had been able to see their DOF's face, it would have been written there as well. I think that they did really well to pip Liverpool to the league. I think there was a lot of pressure, like I said initially, applied.
Oh, massively.
But ultimately, they fell short, and they've fallen short for the third time. The third time where they really should have pushed on. And it does show a little bit of a remission when you have every opportunity and every chance this season to go ahead and push on to the final and go out the way you do to Real Madrid. 2 goals in 3 minutes, extra time, you still have a chance. But the fact is, when you go ahead and drop those 2 goals, concede the 2 goals, have to go to extra time, all your heads drop. And it was always in Real Madrid's wheelhouse at that point. So,
100%. I think just before we dissect where it went wrong in that competition, I think we'll just discuss the League Cup and the FA Cup. within the League Cup, it's a cup that they've made their own. The Carabao Cup, as it's known this season. We've got Patrick, true City fan. The Madrid team embarrassed the whole league. They absolutely did. They were fantastic. And it's no bite at City at all. They did Chelsea, they did City, they did Liverpool, but they did what Madrid do. This conference, there's no surprise that they won 14 Champions Leagues. They do it because this is what they do. They're an incredible team, and they were deserved winners. From a Liverpool fan, deserved winners. Fantastic. But just before we kind of move on to that Champions League, because I think there's a bit of meat on there, I just want to just cover the League Cup and the FA Cup and just give my point of view on the two. I feel they went out on purpose. And when I say went out on purpose, I don't believe they threw the matches. I think they were happy to not be in the competitions, that they served as a distraction. They deserved as a trophy, which they've been and won. Been there, done it. This season was the Champions League. The biggest example of that, Carabao Cup to a side, that was rounds of 16. Not great, but for them, it's the lesser of the trophies. The FA Cup, however, was a different situation. They were one game away from the final. The FA Cup, the most prestigious domestic trophy in world football, as known by many fans, depending on who wins it. It's a Mickey Mouse trophy because Liverpool have won it to a lot of fans, but when you win it, it's important. But in that game, this was just coming after the Real Madrid match where they played 4-3, and Liverpool had played Villarreal and won 2-0. It fell in that week. The changes that Man City made, a number of them were totally unnecessary. To change the goalkeeper, Ederson, to Di Stefan, it made no sense. And for me, that was constant to them saying, yeah, we don't want to be in here. Liverpool were going to play the full team, the full complement, which they did. 3-0 up at half-time. Liverpool were quite happy to defend a lead, conceded a very early goal, conceded a very late goal, turned into a 3-2 match. Unusual. But for me, the FA Cup was an opportunity missed to carry on and keep that extra trophy in the bank, but they didn't want it. Would you disagree with that?
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with the FA Cup final. Like you said, the fixture list is so congested at that end of at that side of the season, that end of the season, where you can make that excuse. Yeah. Here we got Patrick here saying this, and I think that it didn't really matter. It didn't really matter, but I do think that that's a competition that no top team really throws, because you do have an opportunity to push through that competition with relative ease and not have to go and play your starting lineup. So it's one of those where I agree that you wouldn't necessarily care for it.
No,
I also think you can go far in it, like Liverpool did, without having to put too much effort. Yeah,
100%, Jesse. I completely agree. And on that as well, it's kind of mentioned by numerous sort of commentators and fans and whatnot about that. The Carabao Cup is seen as that sort of springboard in February. Win a trophy, everyone gets a big lift. The fans get up behind it. It's an early trophy. Win it in February, and City have used that boost, that lift, on numerous seasons to help buoy them along, to win bigger and better trophies, the Premier League 4 out of 5, the FA Cup on a number of occasions, and if that there, as you say, when it suits is more important than when it's not. As a Liverpool fan, I'll tell you my point. I've become used to not caring about domestic trophies. Just as what Patrick's just said there. I didn't care, because all I cared about was the Champions League and the Premier League. But when Liverpool accidentally ended up in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, I kind of felt, well, we're 3 games away from winning a trophy now. I want to win it. That was my energy towards it. That we're here now. The kids have got us so far. Let's go on and win it, because at least it's another trophy, and it's a day out at Wembley at the end of the day. But
I also just real quick, I think that it was something that was being leveraged very heavily at Klopp, and so you can kind of turn, not winning an FA Cup, not winning a League Cup, not taking those seriously, when a lot of fans you guys can tell me, I'm not from the UK, the majority of the citizenry will take those competitions more seriously. Then you can kind of also then turn that over to Pep, where I can then understand, obviously you can throw the FA Cup final, because the other thing that's leveraged then on Pep is not winning that Champions League. obviously.
Definitely. So that's the Carabao Cup side of things, and we'll just move on to the FA Cup. And I think this is a good opportunity. So, Patrick, you're saying we gamble for the FA Cup, and our gamble fail, but it was an unnecessary gamble. That's what I'd say to you, Patrick. That in certain positions you could have rotated, no problem at all. But why did you need to rotate Ederson? He wasn't injured. He wasn't at risk of being injured. He's integral to the way Manchester City play their game out from the back. The goalkeeper's included as basically a fifth defender, who's capable of taking the ball, passing the ball, doing those things right. And that did cost them. Di Stefan is a big drop down in terms of being a footballer. Oh, had a knock, did he? Well, I didn't know that. Well, I wasn't aware. I had a look at the team news prior to that. I hadn't seen that he'd been mentioned as being on the injury list. So I'll take that as is what it is. But for me, I felt like that was City saying, it's yours to take. We want the Premier League. We want the Champions League. And this is a good opportunity, I think, for us now to go on to the Champions League, Jesse, and kind of just dissect that issue. We know what happened. We know that they conceded the 2 late goals. Why did that happen? Was that anything to do with City?
Yeah, so I have a couple points here because we've already talked about Real Madrid and the fact that they can do it to anyone. They tend to do it. This is why we don't discount them. I don't think I've seen a single reasonable fan discount Real Madrid in the Champions League final at any stage, where regardless of where they are in their league or where their squad is at or who their manager is. But that's just the Real Madrid factor. Moving on, and I would love to hear Pat's thoughts on this about mentality issues. I know people talk about this whole mentality issue thing and they blow it up. I do think that there's something there. There's a little bit of a roadblock for Pep when it does come to his formations, his lineups, and maybe the way he gets his teams moving, especially at the latter stages. And then I want to bring up one more, which most people don't want to bring up about City, and I think most City fans won't even back me on. But I think that there's a squad issue there. I really do think there's a squad issue where it comes to when you want to start playing tricks and mind games. When you want to start playing tricks and mind games, you do need a second option. And I think we'll talk about it later, but I think having a central striker there really helps, because fact is, if you can stop City in their tracks, you can stop them all game. You just have to kind of know how. So,
yeah. Well, and that's an interesting point, because 4 games in the Premier League, Manchester City failed to score. With all the domination of every single game that they had, not having a natural finisher, a natural number 9, did cost them. And I think that was the issue that came about, is the way that City were in the first game against at the Etihad against Real Madrid. That was a very different style of City that I've seen. They were dominant totally, but when it came to allowing space, not controlling the ball, not being able to suffocate the game, can keep the ball like they're capable of doing, suffocating teams with their possession. They couldn't do that to Real Madrid, and I think they were capable of doing that to Real Madrid, but the game plan was to go out there and just blitz them. They scored 4. City scored 4 fantastic goals, 2 very early goals. I think they scored. De Bruyne scored the earliest ever goal in a semi-final of a Champions League semi-final, which was a record in itself, and scored 4 goals. But to concede 3 goals in the way that they did concede them, it was interesting. It was an interesting, because we watched it together. We watched it through the Discord, and we couldn't believe our eyes in what we were seeing. It was like a school match. 4-3. Oh, they've scored. Oh, it's a penalty. Oh no, there's a breakaway. It's 4. And then the game ended 4-3. And I commented and I said, this is a really bad result for City. Even though, because they'd only won 1-0, but they had worked their fingers to the bone. First, like, the players are to blame. Pep got his tactics right and the players missed. And that could well be right. The tactics were totally right to score 4. Defensively, I mean, Ruben Dias, it was Laporte, wasn't it, who gave the penalty away with, the handball. That was poor. Fernandinho, I know Kyle Walker wasn't available. Vinicius Jr. did what Vinicius Jr. does. He's an incredibly fast player, and he just, he showed him up. And I think, going back to what Jesse said, it's a personnel issue. If the quality available when there was an injury at the latter stages of the league, Yeah, totally right there. He was totally right.
Let me just hop in.
Yeah,
here.
jump in, mate. Jump in.
Yeah, so the first leg, the players are to blame. Pep got his tactics right, and the players missed. Obviously, as we were just talking about, I think you're spot on. And then going back to, and I was going to bring this one up, but you brought it up again. Fernandinho was the clear sign there, and he's been a perpetual issue with selections, whether it be the Villa game, last game of the season, or with this game. And again, this is why I kind of say, and this is why I try to back City fans on this. There is a little bit of a personnel issue. I know that he's just doesn't have legs anymore. I know he's a fantastic player. But at the end of the day, you can only delegate so much blame to each party, and I think not having the player there in Fernandinho, even Fernandinho of 2 years ago was still old, but could hold his own. He had a good professional fouls in him. He could play from deep and all that, and cover a lot of ground. But yeah, this is why I say that I think there was a squad issue, and I don't want to put it all on Pep, but you certainly have to spread out the blame.
I think we're getting to a little bit of a common theme, aren't we? Because we're talking about squad. I think that was a problem that has been thrown at Man City. It's an allegation that's been put towards them, but I think it's proven true, and I don't think it's a disparaging remark to say that you don't have the depth that they used to. There used to be, for me, Manchester City used to have 2 11s. They'd have 2 teams, and I think Manchester City's B team would have finished 4th every season. However, when I looked at the bench that played against Real Madrid, I was shocked at the lack of real threat, real kind of capability off that bench that has kind of been whittled away over time with players either being sold or off-field issues with certain players. I won't mention them. Not bringing in players to replace players like Aguero not being available and bringing in Jack Grealish. But we'll go on to that because I think that's an issue on its own, isn't it? So the Champions League, for me, that was their intention from day one. I don't know what Patrick thinks, but I know, and it's not a dig at them, the Champions League was to take it that one step further. Not beating Chelsea last season was a massive opportunity missed, and it was and this opportunity again that presented them was a route to the final that they were more than capable of doing. Atletico Madrid home and away, Real Madrid home and away. They had the job done up until the 90th minute. The job was done, and what let them down for me was a mixture. It was a mixture of available players, which is the club's fault and potentially Pep's fault. And then the other side is the players on the pitch at the time not doing their jobs. However, it's a balancing act between the two. I think it was a group failure. I don't think it was just Pep. I don't think it was just the players. It was both. Jesse, you want to jump in there, mate?
Yeah, I just want to point out, I think a full City squad would allow 3 goals in, maybe not this season with the competition that was in the Champions League. Like the actual quality was pretty low, but you guys let in 4 against, what was it, 3 or 4 in one game against Tottenham just a couple years ago. So do I think so? No, but you guys are also prone to, if your team does start kind of falling behind, you guys are well there to be taken, and you guys will capitulate. It doesn't happen very often because, like Dan was saying, 90% of the time, you guys just go out there, control 80% possession, no issue, get your goal. Don't let them score because they just don't have any of the ball. Barcelona circa or Pep's Barcelona. Yeah, it's like you guys, that's normally your game plan. But I think that in these situations where you're really under pressure, in these one-off games, two-off games, two-legged matches, you guys are vulnerable to. I do actually, even with a full squad. So
it is. And just before I just go on to Patsy's point, I just want to say thank you for everyone who's currently watching now. Really appreciate you being on there, guys. Really do. Stick a like on. If you want to be involved, put a comment in or whatever. We really do appreciate your time. Yeah. Good thing the full City squad. Now, would you suggest you had a full squad when you played Tottenham? Because I think you did. I think you can concede 3 goals. I think it is possible that you can be got at, that if the right position can be played. Any team can concede 3 goals. Liverpool conceded 3 goals this season. It's so possible. But the difference is in the Champions League semi-final, when the pressure's on, you're away from home and you're playing in these big stadiums, when you're playing in the Bernabaus and you're playing in the San Siros or whatever it is, you're playing in the Allianz Arenas, these games are what makes and breaks teams mentally. This is the difference between not the greats and the goods, but even the greatest manager with the greatest teams, Manchester United, won 2 Champions Leagues and only went to 3 Champions League finals in that time. That's not a dig at United. It just shows how difficult it is, even with all the tools in the toolbox to get there. But by each time that Pep Guardiola's had an opportunity to make that push and make City the team that it should be and get that Champions League trophy, they just seem to keep falling short. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of as to why that happens. Why, when you've got the best manager in world football and you have some, if not most, of the best players in the Premier League or the world football as it stands now, how is this not being converted? That's what my question is. Why is it not? Why can they not take their form when they play Chelsea or Liverpool or play, some of these teams in the Premier League? Why can't they then convert that on the Champions League? Now, it's a madness for me. So we know what's happened there. The Champions League, it can be down to players, it can be down to manager. And I think this gives us a good opportunity to kind of wind the clock back a little bit and look at how they ended up where they were. And I think that's transfers, don't you, Jesse?
Yes, it certainly is. Do you want me to just go ahead and just run with it?
Roll it out.
So obviously we all know that they've needed a striker for God knows how long. It wasn't really the strikers that they wanted weren't really available in the market last summer. Obviously, Kane was available on the market, but he wasn't. He wasn't for a reasonable price or for what you would consider valid. And no one wants to go and pay 150 to Levy, because what did he do? He said 120 million pounds plus that'd be agents' fees on top of that plus salary.
About 150, wasn't it?
But then, yeah, it would have been 150. But then, even on top of that, Levy, I'm pretty sure they came in with a decent offer, and Levy bumped it up again, saying 130, 140, 150. You just can't deal with Levy. So forget that. So there wasn't really any option. So that's where the squad issue comes in. Now, my biggest issue, and I can't wait to have Pat on. I hope he can hop on this evening. Yeah, tonight. So they bought Jack Grealish instead of a striker. Obviously, like I just said, I don't think that you guys could have gone a striker. But at the same time, and I've told Dan this a lot, and you guys might crucify me for this. Sorry, my hair keeps poking up, so that's why.
No, don't worry about it.
But I think in a we'll do it right after this, Patrick, for sure. I think Cole Palmer could do just as much in a Pep system as Jack Grealish has done in Pep system. I think he not only is he ready to go. I know he's still young and you don't want that pressure, but Jack Grealish hasn't gotten any pressure whatsoever. No one's really talking about, rival fans talking about, but no one in the media is talking about it. None of that. Cole Palmer would have even less and already knows how to play. And he already knows how to play in a Pep system. I just saw that. I read that wrong, I think, at first, but Jack rubbish, LOL, only this season. Yeah, no, I know. But I honestly believe that was kind of Man City's attempt to kind of to step into marquee signings. I think it was. I think it was a signing for the market, and I think I don't even frown down upon that. I just think it's important to kind of evaluate where clubs are at. Same way Liverpool is going in supposedly and pretty obviously for Nunez for 100 million euros, and they may need him because they're selling Mane, but that's a 22-year-old that's very raw. For 100 million euros, that marks an evolution in Liverpool's transfer strategy. In the same way that Jack Grealish to City marks another evolution for City into a different market, which is marquee signings, which every club needs. So I don't want to I don't like tarnishing people either with the same brush or with a negativity. It just happens to be or look that way to me in the market. So yeah,
it's right. I mean, just slightly, and we're going Jack Grealish. I'm going to go into him in a second, but we talked about Harry Kane. Harry Kane was the player that they were going for. Harry Kane wanted to leave Tottenham. That was just the way things were. We look at that situation, and this is my question: did they actually really need to buy a Harry Kane to achieve their actual goals? I don't think they did. They didn't need a 30, 25 goal a season striker to achieve their goals. I don't think that was necessary. If they got a 15 to 17 goal a season striker, they would have achieved what they wanted, in my opinion. I didn't think they needed to go with the nuclear option of going and buying the best striker in world football. They didn't need to do that. That wasn't required. They could have quite happily bring in a striker, which they absolutely needed. £30 million. I'm sure for that money, we could all sit together and have located a striker somewhere in world football who would have done the job that would have been required to take them from not winning games or not scoring 4 occasions in the Premier League they failed to score, to not scoring in those games, winning the league no problem at all, by 3, 6, 8, 9 points, whatever it could be, and moving from that situation, win the Premier League no problem at all, less pressure with the Premier League, and then potentially scoring that extra goal in the Champions League that would have killed the tie. Would have absolutely killed the tie in that second leg. And for me, absolutely 100%, Patrick. Strikers at elite are expensive. They totally are, absolutely. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I didn't think you needed an elite striker. I don't think you needed one. I think you'd have been more than happy with somebody who could have just come in, 15 goals a season, 30, 35 million pound striker on a 3-year deal. He would have got you over the line. Whoever that player was would have done the job. Jesse, go on, mate.
Literally, this is the question. I can't remember, when did Fernan Torres leave you guys? It was in January, right?
It was.
Yeah. So I can imagine. I can imagine Pep went into the season assuming Gabby Jesus can get you 15, 20 goals from that position across all comps, maybe 12 in league. Fernan Torres kind of had a couple good games there, especially early on, where he was banging in goals. Ultimately he wanted to move to Barcelona, and as Pep does, and as all elite coaches should do, it's okay. You want to go out
the door.
Yep, see ya. Sir Alex would have done that. Klopp does that. Pep does that. All the good managers do that. But I think he probably thought between these two young strikers that we already have, or wing or stroke strikers, we can make up the numbers. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, but
no, totally. I mean, the one thing that gets me is Gabriel Jesus. Apparently, this is the words from the players. Oh, we did incredibly well without an out-and-out striker. What's Gabriel Jesus? That's actually his job. He's currently being looked at by a number of other clubs to be their striker. They just didn't play with one. I don't think Pep really likes strikers. He didn't really like Aguero. It wasn't really his bag, shall we say, to bring in a player of that kind of that ilk. He want a natural finisher, a number 9, shall we say? So yeah, for me, that's my opinion. I didn't think they needed a Harry Kane. I just think they needed a striker. But what was more important at City, and this is what I think really let them down, was the lack of depth in other very, very important positions within City, where they don't have a viable replacement. So going into, say, for example, Kyle Walker. Now, we all know, and we all, completely admit that he is a huge loss and he's almost irreplaceable. No one's that fast. No one can recover the way that he can recover. However, he can be replicated in a way. There would be somebody, again, whose job it is to be a scout, to look at world football and find someone of that profile who could have come into Manchester City. And if it means riding the bench for 12 months, but being available, that would have potentially been the difference between not conceding from Vinicius Jr. in the first leg. We're having Fernandinho, who was not a like-for-like replacement. He's not capable of playing that position. He let you down in that game, but he also let you down, more importantly, in the game against West Ham. He was really poor in that game too. So, yeah, Missouri would be a good signing for them. James just mentioned that. Again, we could go over it. Do you know what I mean? We really could go through. That was the most important situation, is not having depth in other positions. The striker wasn't really the problem. It was the goals conceded against in certain games where you didn't have a viable replacement. You went through a bit of an injury crisis with Diaz and Laporte and John Stones. They all went through their bits and pieces and had a problem. And these things happen, but in certain places which are so important to Manchester City's team, João Cancelo is great on the left-hand side, but if you put him on the right-hand side, he forgets how to play football. Jesse, jump in there, mate.
Yeah, so I understand what you guys are saying, but I can also bring it back around and say there were plenty of games where City's biggest issue was not being able to score. It wasn't conceding goals. And this is around mid-season. Remember when we were talking about Liverpool going on 25-30 game like run where every single game they scored? And there were some of those games where you were just looking at City kind of sideways and going, I don't know if they're going to score today. There were at least 8 or 9 of those, and there were, I think, 5 or 6 where they didn't score, and they ended up drawing those games. Yeah. And I don't have them on top of my memory, but
Crystal Palace was 1-0 at Selhurst Park. Couldn't score to save their lives, and he had every chance. But I think a natural finisher, someone whose job it is to put the ball in the back of the net, finishes one of those chances. Anybody.
Just to switch up the system, to not have to play it all the way to the byline and then bring it back in. Typical Pep Guardiola goal, beautiful triangles down there and then back into the box. And I do think it's a mixed bag. But when we're talking about the business end of the season, I agree with you guys. I can concede.
You need that. You need that depth. This is the thing that Liverpool went through. Liverpool went through this in the 18-19 season. It was kind of thrown at Liverpool that Liverpool had the best 11. And that's what we had. 11 players. Because as soon as we had to make a substitution, the drop was enormous. Like huge. We'd go from having Sadio Mane and then we'd bring on who? There's no one to bring on. We haven't got anybody. But we're having to build up that team. We have a bench now. And that's where City's kind of gone the other way. City's remained having a good 11, but their bench has been depleted. The quality that's been available on their bench has been depleted over time. And I think it's crept up because I remember correcting somebody on one of our Discords when we were kind of chatting away. And we said, how's this happened? Someone said, City, they've got a great bench. They've got loads of good players and all the rest of it. I said, have a look at it. Just go and take a look at the bench. And there was Raheem Sterling was on the bench available. Now, he's kind of out of sorts. He's not the same player that he was a couple of seasons ago. He's kind of not, I don't know what's gone on there. I think it might be off-field situations with the contract or whatever, but he's not kind of kicked on as well as he has in previous seasons. No, Origi, 100%. Divock Origi, love the man, love him to pieces. But the thing is you can't rely on him to dig you out every single time. He scored some absolutely clutch goals. He's the Belgian Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know what I mean? But he's not someone who you would be like, get him on. Like, he's going to be just as good as the guy I've just taken off. You know, it's a drop in quality. Midfield, we had issues. Defence, we had issues. You know, goalkeeper, good Lord, don't talk about that. We've had enough of those issues in the past. So, yeah, with that, like, that's that. I think that's that situation for me. I think the problem was not Jack Grealish, because Jack Grealish is a great player. I love Jack Grealish. I think he's a top. I just didn't think they needed him at all. Like, it was a pointless signing when you needed a striker and you really needed a bit more depth. It was like, let's go and get this big marquee signing that's like a statement to say, look at us, you know, he's arrived. And I remember the pictures and the marketing. He sat on the chair with his legs crossed and all the rest of it. And it was, you know, quite a big event for Manchester City, but it wasn't really required, and I think it cost them. I think that decision cost Man City a number of trophies this season.
And I think that's the important thing to keep in mind is we're talking about this season, and that's why it does become just the suggestion, our ideas. These are our thoughts, obviously.
Yeah.
And we'll share the link here in a second, by the way, so you guys can come on and have your thoughts. But the fact that it was a marquee signing and it was about marketing, and that's necessary. And he brought in a hell of a lot of UK fans, young UK fans. I mean, Grealish is an absolute star. And then my
wife loves him.
Yeah, all the women love him, dude. I don't think you can help it. Even if you hate him, your girl probably loves him. And that's why I was saying someone like Cole Palmer, who already knows the system, who's come up through the youth ranks at City. I've already seen him play. I love that kid. He's brilliant.
Good kid.
So the whole point was, I think that you could have easily replaced his statistics by just playing a youngster, and there's very little pressure on any of these players, anyways. So, marquee signing or not, it's kind of mute at this point. Let's see what he does next season, and move on from that, because you guys are going to bring all in, and yeah.
And that's it. And it's quite funny. I think that's a really good opportunity. Jesse's just going to stick the link in the comments if you want to jump on. give us a link, jump on. We'll get you on the and chat. We'll listen to your thoughts and your feelings about what's going on. I totally agree with you. Moving forward, that's a good point of the discussion. That you're bringing Haaland in. I mean, again, great piece of business, real good potential. Fantastic. Hi, Annie, throwing in something there for.
I will cover this right immediately.
He's about to leave. He's leaving the stream. He's going to find out what's going on.
This is perfect. We got Pat in, so I can go check this real quick.
This is it. Hi, Pat. How you doing, mate? How you doing, buddy? Okay, thanks for coming on.
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
Anytime. So, Patrick, you tell me. We've had a bit of discussion. Is there anything in there that you want to clarify, or really just give your opinion as a fan? You tell me.
Now, for me, I think I made a video immediately after the Madrid defeat. There's a lot of things in our team that happen, and believe it or not, there's a lot of City fans who are becoming impatient, but they're not saying it on Twitter. They're in the Twitter groups. Groups with a lot of City fans, they add me up. After they watch you, they add you and they ask you for your opinion in groups. And then I noticed a lot of people are very impatient, but some people, obviously, who are the older fans, they sort of suppress the younger fans. This is what I've noticed, especially with the Champions League. I'm talking about the Champions League. But there's one kid who said something and everybody laughed at him. And he said he's a kid. He said, look, I'm 15, but I know what I'm saying. He said, we want to become as big as Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool. Like, we want to become a big team. We're going to have to start acting like a big team. He says, I'm tired of makeshift positions. I'm tired of bandages on things. He said this. He had a rant. That was on the first leg. And then he also said in the first leg that, I'm telling you, Madrid are going to beat us at the Bernabeu. We've messed up. And everybody went on him. I also went on him for a minute. I also went on this kid. We forgot he's a 15-year-old kid. People went on him. He's like, you shut up, go play, go to school. You've got school tomorrow. People like, shut up. Then I sat back and thought about what the kid said. The kid was like, why should we be playing John Stones? Why don't we have a right back who's just happy to be there? Like Tsimikas from Liverpool. He's just happy to be on the bench and he'll come in and he'll give you a 7 out of 10. He's like, why don't we have a left back? We knew that Mendy has this case. We knew about this case way before it went public. Yes,
he ain't coming back.
He ain't coming back. We have a lot of gaps with Kompany. We had a gap with Aguero. And this kid was just cooking. This kid was saying the right things, but we were all just in the mood of happy with Madrid. We're like, shut up. Madrid has what? We've beaten Madrid. It's a big giant. We'll be fine. They're a finished team. You know how the media sold us this season, that Madrid are a finished team. So Liverpool, Chelsea have to slap them easy. So we all were sold in this dream. And then when we lost, I sat back and thought, and I told one of the guys, I do the channel. I do the channel with. I was like, you know that kid we were all laughing at, that 15-year-old kid. That 15-year-old kid told us that we're going to regret this mistake of not having the right players to back somebody. He said, why don't we get a right back? Walker might get injured, and we all went like, Walker will never get injured. Walker will be fine. He's such a specimen. And look at what has happened. This kid just predicted what happened, and he said they're gonna beat us at the Bernabeu because we've messed up. And that's what I keep thinking. This thing where it came out where they said Pep apparently purposely wanted to work with a small team this season.
Yeah.
So he purposely wanted this. He wanted a small group, and he didn't want that 22 group anymore. Remember the 22 group? He said he'll get back to the 22 group this season, but this season specifically, he requested that our bench was full of kids. You saw that our bench every game was full of kids. So the Champions League, thinking about it, what if what this kid said happened? Like, we went to Norwich and got the four backs. The four backs are great at Norwich, believe it or not. The other guy you guys were after, great four backs. How come we don't have somebody just sitting on the bench as a left back? We know Zinchenko is not a left back. Stop this habit of putting bandages. This is the reason why we end up in the Champions League exposed, because we all get surprised like, oh my God, how did that guy beat Zinchenko? He's a midfielder, but he's a midfielder. Fabian Delph is a midfielder. How did that guy beat Fernandinho? He's 38 years old. He's a midfielder. How did that guy beat John Stones? He's a defender. Do you get my point?
Yes.
Why do we shoot ourselves in the foot? Do you get my point?
And with you saying that, Patrick, it was interesting you said about fans being impatient. And so you tell me, where are you now? I mean, you're a City fan, you're in the spaces, but where are you right now in terms of your sort of patience when it comes to the Champions League?
I think for international fans, this is what I've also noticed. International fans and majority also of younger fans, or not even international fans. I think the younger fans are growing in this that are in this era where obviously the older fans and the legacy fans, as I call them, they are happy that there's a Premier League. They're happy that it's a dream to win the Premier League. For me, to be honest with you, when we won that FA Cup, I was like, yes, I was so happy. I thought that was the level we're going to reach. So obviously, winning the Premier League was great. But the thing is, I think people have to notice that even the City owners themselves, it's an international club now. It's becoming an international club. Unfortunately, for the legacy fans, some of them are not happy, but they have to notice that when you go international, like Liverpool, Man United, and that, people don't expect just the Premier League. They don't live in the Premier League era. They look at the Champions League. So they're staying away. They're in India somewhere. What do they see? Champions League. So when they're watching the Champions League, they expect you as one of the best teams in the world to do something. But the thing is, I am also getting impatient because some of the failures we've had, yes, some of them have been bad luck, where like the Spurs game, I keep laughing. I was like, how in the hell did we have inches of offside? But what I mean is, some of these things are avoidable. That kid was right. Why don't we have a right back or left back who is just a 7 out of 10, like Tsimikas? Like you guys have got Tsimikas. I was laughing at Tsimikas. I was like, what the hell is he doing on the bench? But he's happy to come in. Yeah, like he's happy to come in. How come City don't have that? And you're right, Dan and Jesse, both of you said it, that everybody keeps hyping the City team that it's good. It was the 17-18 team that you have to hype. That team had no excuses. That team had 2 people in every position. This one doesn't have. You'll be kidding yourself. We don't have 4 backs. We don't. Cancelo and Walker are the only 2 fullbacks we have. Zinchenko is not a 4-back. As great as he might be, remember he's a midfielder. He will get found out all the time. He does get found out. So this is the thing. It hurts me to say we have the money, but we don't see where we are lacking. Like at the beginning of the season, somebody attacked us when we say on my channel, when we say we need a DM. Let's not go this season with Rodri only. Somebody said, how dare you insult Fernandinho? Well, like he's 38 and the guys attacked us. He even unsubscribed, I think so. He said, I'm going. You guys are talking nonsense. And then the same people came in mid-season and said, you are right. He's done. He's finished. So you see Pat, what I mean?
Pat, just let me cut you off right there. So which of those positions would you mark as the more important signing? Would a Fernandinho replacement or someone for the replacement like Walker, even potentially on that other side, because you can play Cancelo on the right as well. Maybe I know Zinchenko is a good player and you should keep him around and I rate him, but what position do you want to replace first? Now that you guys have Alvarez, Haaland, maybe another one, but who would you replace out of those ones that currently actually need replacing first?
I think going to this season, and I've also seen the same thing with you guys. I'm going to say it after I say it with CJ. I'm also going to talk about Liverpool. I think Pep and Klopp, especially Pep, after he saw that Klopp got so close to the quad, and Klopp after he saw he got so close, I bet you Pep with his ego, I bet you that's what he's after, because I have started looking at exactly how he's moving now. I think we need a DM, and we need a 4-back. What I mean 4-back is, it's either this 4-back has to be a left back or right back because of Cancelo, because Cancelo can. But I think most genuinely, we need a left back. We need a natural left back, and Cancelo, if he wants, he can play there. But this left back has to always be there, ready to play. Because trust me, if we continue this habit where Pep has brainwashed some of the City fans, Ake can play left back, Laporte can play left back, we're going to be in trouble. The guys will be injured, they'll be found out, and then we'll be going to the Champions League semi-final again. So we need a left back and a DM, because Rodri played a lot of games this season, and every time Rodri is not there, guess what happened? We lost.
Yeah. You know what? I think you guys are inflicted in a similar way that United is inflicted. We have a similar curse, which is unfortunately a very disgraceful one. We both have players who are in the gulag right now. So I think that there was probably some misplanning, or not even misplanning. I think that things just kind of went sideways with a couple of players in the Premier League, and I think you guys are missing out on. How much did you guys pay for Mendy?
50.
50. Yeah, 50. You know what I mean? I just think that I don't think it's even ill planning. I think it's just fortune of circumstance. We wish that our players weren't on that fuckery, for the want of a better word.
But this is where it can go sometimes, isn't it? This is the situation. It's unpredictable, but it can happen. But it's just not having someone and go and reacting to that situation and going, okay, there are out there. The Costas Tsimikas, the whole world could see that guy was available.
Yeah.
Liverpool bought him. Like, it wasn't a secret. He was like, this guy plays at Olympiacos. You look at his data, you look at his stats. This guy's doing bits. He's doing pieces, and you kind of make sense afterwards, after the fact, and go, why did nobody else want him? £15 million. The man's turned into a bargain, absolute bargain. He's worth probably twice that now. When it comes to, if Liverpool were to sell him, they'd probably sell him for 25 million, easy, because of the way that he's performed. But what's really important, I think this is a really unrespected trait when it comes to players: being happy being a squad player, being happy sitting on a bench and knowing that you're not going to start if the guy who's first choice is fit, healthy, and not tired, and that's difficult. Joe Gomez is going through that situation at the moment. We're trying to wonder whether or not he's willing to stay. I hope he stays. With the 5 substitutes, I think that's going to be very, very... It's going to change football in the Premier League. The way that players get game time and more minutes. We're going to see either Trent and Gomez finishing and starting games pretty much all the time. That's my opinion. I don't think we're going to see a lot of players finishing matches, but we're going to see different players starting. So it's going to be interesting. Jesse, have we got somebody else in the guest waiting room to come on?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we got through Patrick's concerns, and we'll just carry on from here. Bringing on Jamie, the Bayern Munich fan next. Thanks for joining us, Jamie. How you doing, brother?
Yo, Jamie.
How you doing, lads?
How you doing, mate? Okay, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. So, we've just been discussing the City situation with the Champions League. Patrick's been very open and honest. He says there's a lot of sort of impatience as it stands. So from a Bayern Munich fan who's kind of sat there and watched his team do well in the Champions League, win the Bundesliga on numerous occasions, where do you stand on this? How would you feel in their shoes with how things are going at the moment?
I mean, like I was saying to Patrick in the chat, like all this, people being massively surprised by Pep bottling it in the Champions League and making a few, naive substitutions, tactical decisions, changing formations when he doesn't need to. It doesn't surprise you, bro. Like, I've literally seen Bayern Munich under Guardiola on 3 different occasions bottle it, and and look. Whilst we're on the whole Champions League thing, I just want to just say yes, it's down to the players, but I think Pep has got a massive inferiority. Yeah, yeah. I can't even
inferiority complex.
Yeah. What Dan said. When it comes to just getting over the line, and I feel like that nervous energy he has on the touchline, it then seeps down to the players. And the thing I've noticed in a lot of these defeats and getting off at the Champions League, for example, is, for me, it comes down to mentality.
Okay.
City, and this is no respect at City, I think they are a tremendous club. I think they're better than teams like PSG and teams that spend a lot of money in that, because at least City spend it well. But City, that game against Real Madrid, it kind of reminded me a little bit about Bayern Munich against PSG, where PSG, they had all the attacking play, all the possession. They were literally dragging Kimmich from right back and Davies from left back, and just Di Maria and Neymar were just spinning them for fun. But the problem in that game, albeit under Tuchel, was they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And in the end, you can chat all you want about, oh, look at the possession, look at all the, attacking play that we've done. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what you do, in attack, it's what you do in defence. And as for for City's recruitment, this kind of reminds me of you know, the Philip Lahm, you know, example where Pep Guardiola played Philip Lahm at CDM. And at the time, at the start of the season, around the first half of the 13-14 season, it worked. But then there were games where Rafinha, although he's a good attacking right back, defensively, he ain't all that. And it's little moments like that against Real Madrid, especially in the second leg, where we knew we had to win. We had to score goals in that game. And of course, we lost 4-0. But what did Pep do? Changed nothing. He literally just kept playing Rafinha right back, Philip Lahm CDM. And you know what I mean? I just think, you know, for Pep personally, I just think it's down to stubbornness, you know. But I'm just being honest, guys. It doesn't really surprise me. Some of these things he does.
Patrick, what do you think to some of those comments made there?
Yeah, he's like, look, he's saying exactly what I was talking about. That first of all, it's him this season who said I want a small squad. It's him. He said it himself. And then he was so stubborn to play Fernandinho while, my God, you know what? Do you know what hurts me the most, JC, Dan, and Jamie, is you, even yourself as just somebody who's sitting outside, you can see that, oh, that Champions League is ours. You know, I know that you don't deserve it, but you know that particular thing over there will cost us. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to tell, but you're right. There's this stubborn mentality, especially with the Chelsea game, where you're leaving Rodri and Fernandinho on the bench. I remember I said it, and people were laughing at me. I said, we're going to be slapped here. Somebody's like, no way. I was like, we can't be going in the final without a DM. We must be mad. They're just going to go through our midfield. Like, those simple things, like, why do you do those things? Because I still blame him, JC, to the end of the day. I think he cost us the Champions League. In the Chelsea, I blame him. He cost us the Champions League. Maybe I'm wrong, but this thing what Jamie has said, like, Fernandinho didn't have to play those games, the Madrid games. There was Ake sitting on the bench. He could have taken Ake and switched Cancelo to the right. Like, he didn't have
100%, bro. 100%.
The second leg, I'm not talking about the first leg, obviously, because Cancelo was suspended, but he just makes decisions, I think, based on loyalty. He's got even this loyalty thing there. I'm Philip Lahm, I'm loyal. Fernandinho, I'm loyal. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, sorry. No, I just wanted to back you up. You were actually just moving into what I was going to say. He has this thing, which a lot of managers do, lots of top managers do, but he doesn't necessarily pick the best personnel, but he picks the person he believes he can trust most, and not in a position or on a given day. I wouldn't be surprised to see your entire back line midfield looking awesome, and then he doesn't trust half your front line, so he plays Fernandinho up front. I'm being overzealous, obviously, and a bit sarcastic. I'm being hyperbolic with that, but it's that sort of thing where he just picks, you know, this has been my captain for the past 5 years, or since he's really come in, so I'm going to end up playing him at center back against Villa, against whoever it may be, and it's a mess. Really, you got to play your best players in their best positions. Another example, Arteta.
No, I agree.
With Xhaka playing left back. Nuno Tavares is a bad player. He is bad. He doesn't belong in the Premier League. I don't know if it's surprising to any of you guys. But
No,
he's still better. But he's still better at left back than Granit Xhaka. it's yeah. I don't know.
No, that's it, isn't it? As you say, it's almost misplaced sort of loyalty, or as you say, kind of a comfort blanket. A player who you can just trust and go, do you know what? It's okay. I'll just hold on to this person because they'll do what I want them to do. I can trust these guys. But I think this is an interesting question. I've got this one to kind of throw out. There's two clubs who've either had Pep Guardiola as a manager and a current club that has Pep Guardiola as a manager. If Pep doesn't win the Champions League next season, is it time to move on?
I'll let Patrick answer this first.
For me, the thing is this. For me, is no. You know why? People have to remember we are starving at City. We're still starving, regardless of the fact that the Champions League is not in our cabinet. People, this is what I think. This is the reason why I remember I told you about the legacy fans and then the younger fans. It's the younger fans who are hyped for the Champions League, and they're only hyped because the rival fans. I think the rival fans can get to the younger fans. the other fans don't give a shit. Like, trust me, talk to the legacy fans; they'll tell you they don't give a shit, and they don't care. They don't care about the Champions League. They don't care.
I don't
That's why-
believe them. They could say that, but I don't believe them.
No, I think they don't. And that's why they boo it. Like, I have had arguments with them saying, guys, we're gonna have to move on from the past. They're like, well, at the end of the day, we've won four premiers with Pep, and we've won this amount of Premier Leagues, and we're stocking up to catch up. They're like, we're playing catch up. So for them, in their mind is we're playing catch up. So they are. But to be honest with you, I see where they're coming from. We are coming from the trenches. You must remember, City are still coming from the trenches. But I think even at City, as long as this man keeps on stocking these titles, I think it's about stocking them. But I think the biggest issue would be if he went 2 seasons without a Premier League. I think that's where, like, they believe you might be saying, or maybe I'm making a mistake, but I think if he went 2 seasons without a Premier League, I think there will be an eye opener. They'll be looking at him differently because that's something we've been winning. But I think if he went without a Champions League and still continue with the Premier League, I think nobody has tested a Champions League. The issue which I've seen is I think the day City test the Champions League and then the next manager comes in and doesn't win it, I think the pressure changes. I think the only reason why City fans are more relaxed on that is they've never tested that before. Because I have seen when people win Champions League, I've seen how fans go crazy. I've seen the feeling. I've never seen that feeling before at City. Yes, the Premier League, it was there when Aguero scored and that was it. You can see now they're hungry for the Premier League. They're greedy. They're sort of stingy. They think it belongs to them. But I think the Champions League, since nobody has ever won it, that's the reason why I said it once. I was like, maybe we have to get players who've won the Champions League before. So maybe those players can look at the other players and say, I want this. What are you doing? Stand up. I want this. But for me, I think he's not going to go anywhere. I think nobody will say anything to him as long as he I don't know if I can call it stat pads Premier Leagues. I think as long as he stocks them. But I don't know how long that will go for. But I think the fact that we've never tested Champions League is the reason why most of them don't hold him to that level. But I think you guys at Liverpool, you guys at United, I'm pretty sure if United say winning Premier Leagues, they'll start looking for the Champions League. At Bayern, I think they had the treble before, so they were looking at him funny, saying, "What the hell are you doing here, sir?" But at City, they're like, trust me, Dan, you'll be surprised. I have had arguments with legacy fans. They are so
There's 2 things I'll say to that, Patrick. Right? Okay, it's 2 things. The first one's a little bit hyperbolic. It's a little bit of a dig at some of those legacy fans. Now, Man City had we had a bit of fun with City when we played them in the FA Cup, that they couldn't sell their allocation of tickets to Wembley. And we had a dig and a bit of fun on Twitter. It was all good-hearted. But one of the replies that kept coming back over and over again was, well, we've been 17 times in the last 5 years, and oh, well, we can't afford, it's too expensive. So that's why I don't buy the legacy fans saying that they're important, by, as you call them, legacy fans saying, oh, well, we've been and seen it, we've been and done it all. So for me, I just think that's nonsense. I just think that's a case of, all trophies have got the energy. The Champions League is so important. And then the other bit, just before we move on to Jamie, Patrick, is Manchester United and Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, not so much Aston Villa, they were doing both at the same time. They were winning the Premier League, they were winning the title and the Champions League. They were doing both, and that's the only energy I will put at them. I'll let you have a retort, but Jamie, go on, mate. What's your opinion on Pep? Should he stay if they don't win the Champions League next season?
No, and I'll tell you as to why. Okay. I think the Man City fan base, they are a huge partly to blame for some of this. Now hear me out. The fact that people are not putting pressure on Pep Guardiola, for me, is laughable. It's laughable. Even some of our legends, like, Lothar Matthäus, Ollie Hoeneß, who was obviously our CEO at the time, and you know what he's like. He likes to have a little chin wag and a few, harsh words, to, some of the, people below him and that.
Yeah.
We're, ripping into him, saying, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? How can you not win the Champions League in 3 seasons at Bayern? Albeit at Bayern, you obviously play under our rules and our structure and our philosophy. And I don't think City fans want to have that conversation. When I say that, I'm not saying you've got to sack him like he is shit. I'm not saying that. Listen, I enjoy Pep Guardiola for, 3 seasons, and we had some very good times with the domestic success and the records we were breaking. I mean, I think the 13-14 season, I think we conceded only 17 goals in 34 games. Like, that was unprecedented, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s when the Bundesliga was first founded in that.
Yeah.
But I just got to just keep it real, Dan. Like, until City fans start, putting their foot down and saying, like, if we don't win the Champions League, or we're, like, constantly always getting to the final, and we're more or less getting into that, like, pressure time where we have to win it. Like, Pep Guardiola, as far as he's, like, concerned, he's like, oh, what's that? 4 Premier Leagues in 5 years? Oh, but City fans are happy with this achievement. All right, then I'll sign a new contract. And for me, Pep Guardiola, when he's under pressure, that is where you see him in his most dangerous. Look at the 18-19 season when it was like, between Liverpool and Man City, 98 points, 97 points. That is so unprecedented. And because Pep Guardiola was under massive pressure because of obviously the defeat to Spurs, which, let's be honest, that was embarrassing. But the fact that Liverpool were like pushing them all the way to the final day, that for me is where Pep Guardiola is at his most dangerous. And I just think, for me, lads, just to kind of end my point, is that, I'm not blaming all the City fan base, but it's just some of these, older fans that, for me, just don't really want to, come across as, how can I put it? They don't want to come across as like, being ungrateful.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying like them, celebrating and being happy with the Premier League is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But like what Patrick said, like, he is starving. He is starving for the Champions League. That is why, for me, Dan, teams like Bayern, like Liverpool, like Real Madrid, even Man United back in the day, like, you win the Champions League, you win the Premier League, you win your domestic cups, and rather than just being, oh yeah, we won the cup in that, you're literally like, right, get your head in the game. We've won it. Let's celebrate a little bit, and then we plan for next season. And that's
so, Jamie. What you're saying there is, just to put your point, you're saying that you think Manchester City fans should be expecting more and should be applying more pressure rather than feeling grateful that he's here. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, 100%, bro. 100%.
Jesse, go on, mate.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, last season, Kevin De Bruyne came out after the Champions League final and said it's simply not good enough. And the City fans, dejected, when hopped back from Porto or wherever it was, back to England, and basically forgave and forgot. Said, we go again next season. You guys came so close last season, last season now, but last season, where it must have hurt. This season, we're in the same place. And I think Pep Guardiola expects more from the squad. And the squad certainly do expect more of themselves. I don't think that there's any doubt that in that dressing room, they're looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, this wasn't good enough. They probably didn't look Pep in the eye for 3 days after that until their next game, their next training.
Yeah, he didn't talk to them. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't. This is my point.
He didn't talk to them. They're all like, apparently he just left them for a whole week, and the players were like, "What the hell is happening?" He just left them for a whole.
I don't blame him, mate.
No, but just to let me finish my point too, because and then let's go to Pat. This is my point. Is I saw in KDB's eyes after that final last season, after his post-match interview, he was livid, and he knew that they hadn't done good enough. And he said, "We don't just need," and I'm pretty sure, Pat, you might be able to back me up on this. I don't have the exact quotes, but he said, it's not good enough. We need to do better, and we need to come back and win this next year. And we need the fans to have the same expectations of this team that we have of ourselves. And I'm not convinced you guys do. I think you guys do in the moment, but then the moment it's over and you're parading around the city, I think all is forgiven and forgotten. And I really do think that there's an issue there. And this is why Jamie brought up that point. And it's it's fantastic. It really is.
So, Patrick, what do you say to Jamie's comments in relation to
Jamie is not saying anything wrong, because as I told you that I had fights. I have had fights where obviously I just give up, because at the end of the day, even though I've been supporting this club for years, I still sit back and say, look, I'm still somehow I consider myself at home now, but I used to consider myself as a tourist, at first, like a visitor. But I can tell you, Dan, like, trust me, Jamie has just hit the nail on the head. Trust me, you will argue to the end. Like, for them, I get it, and I get where they're coming from, because I used to see teams back home that where people were just happy when they win the league. They're like, oh, where we came from, the trenches, who cares? This is it. And this, but where it's going, I have a feeling that they will also start questioning. But why I'm happy is, let us start getting Haaland. Let us start getting Grealish. Let's start getting these big signings. That's when people sit there and say, oh, we're missing again in the final, but Haaland is here. You know what I mean? But what I've noticed is, JC is right. De Bruyne said it in the Lyon game after he was done. He's like, same more shit. And he actually said those words, same more shit. Another season. And then Zinchenko's girlfriend came out and said some of the players are not happy in the dressing room because Eric Garcia was played while Otamendi and senior players were on the bench. And what I've also noticed is, I think now Pep, if you've noticed why he wanted Kane, I can answer because you guys were talking about Kane, is I think he's noticed that this thing of me trying to be a genius with the first nine, this first nine thing works. If it works on it today, it will rip teams to 5-0. But if this first nine fails, trust me, guys, you will want to throw your remote to the TV.
I've seen it.
They stink. They just, if the at least Mane, Salah, Jota, all of them will have days where they carry each other. Trust me, City, all the front just stinks. It stinks to the point where they will hit the post, and all of them will hit the post. They will miss 1v1s. They will fall down. Like, it just becomes silly. So I have noticed it. Pep has changed things. I think he wants that UCL. I think under the doors, the big bosses are like, okay, look, Pep, we trust you, but what do you want to win this UCL? So I think I noticed this season, every player we're being linked with, like Alvarez was supposed to come in December. Pep apparently called Alvarez and said, no, you're coming in July. And then he told Jesus Mahrez, who've got 12 months left, that if you guys want to leave, leave. Because you know what he's trying to say. He's like, dudes, I'm done with you guys. You guys keep missing in big moments. So Haaland is coming. He's got Haaland. I hope he's not stubborn anymore. I hope he's learned his lesson. But you're right, Jay. Jamie's right 100%. It comes from the fans. If you boo the Champions League, I know because of the issues we've had with them in the past, you boo the Champions League, the players have said, guys, stop booing. They don't stop booing. When the Champions League we fail, people cry for that day. Jamie is right. When the parade is done, JC is right. Everything is forgiven. People forget. And then when you ask them, remember how we lost in the semi? They'll be like, shut up. That's the past. Why, if it was Madrid, Liverpool, and other teams, oh my God, Madrid fans will make sure they are vocal at the parade.
Smash
the players that, So you see, that's the issue that's there. That's what I'm saying, Dan. I think if we just win one, I think the mentality will change. I think the mentality will change. People, you will never hear City fans say, "Oh, I don't care about the." They'll be like, "I want that UCL," and then there'll be pressure.
You see, I totally agree with you, Patrick. Like, me and you, and Jesse and Jamie, we all sit in the room here now in our lifetime has watched our club win the league. I can tell you something now. I don't think there's anyone here who will admit that winning the league is as good as winning the Champions League. That feeling is incredible. Like, it's you are the best team in Europe. I've thrown this out there and I said, nobody cares that Real Madrid won La Liga this season except Real Madrid and Barcelona. The only people, but everybody cares that in Europe that they've won the Champions League in 2022, especially amongst the elite clubs at the highest level. Whoever wins the league is like, yeah, that's great, that's fine, but the Champions League is a trophy for the biggest clubs, the ones who really, it's that mark of excellence, that mark of achievement, that mark of, that we are the very best, we are the biggest, we are putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the cabinet, 7, and then there's this giant jump to 14. as it stands now with Real Madrid. But to get to 7 makes you second. It's not that far away, but it shows how difficult it can be to get there, to stay there, and keep putting them in. You can wait 10, 20, 30 years between your next one. So with that there, we'll put that one to one side. I think we can look at the future of Man City now. Haaland, Julian Alvarez, Patrick coming in. What do you expect from these guys? What are you expecting that they're going to bring, other than just goals, obviously?
Yeah, we're looking at. You know what's quite funny? I just noticed that Julian Alvarez was also 21. He's just turned 22. That's another kid. Look, for me, I'm looking at different types of play. I'm looking at players to bring something different, because the thing about Alvarez is, I remember I was hyping him also, and somebody was telling me, stop hyping. This is a CFG signing, like Citigroup signing. I was like, no. I was like, not the way they're talking about it, not the way Tiki and the directors are talking about it. I was like, if we turn this into a group signing, after Man United were looking for him, after Chelsea were trying to get him, Madrid were trying to convince him, Barcelona, and we decide to lie to him and send him to one of our sister clubs. I was like, that's embarrassing. I was like, then people started watching him. One of the guys I do videos with started watching him every night because he's in America. He's like, oh my God, this kid is serious. I think what we're looking for here is, we're looking for that final solution where this whole Raheem, I will score 20 goals against Norwich once in a while against this team. Then when I go to the Champions League, I'll score in the group stages in the Champions League. But when I get to the semis, quarters, I'm missing. You know what I mean? I think I'm looking for players that will take us from us just being a team that scores against small teams sometimes. No offense, people, Man City fans who hate it, but trust me, we stat pad a lot against small teams. That's what Man City is doing these days. We stat pad a lot against big teams. It's De Bruyne who carries us. De Bruyne, if he's having a bad day, who else is going to carry us? Nobody. I'm looking at Haaland to be the guy, because don't forget, Haaland is the alarm in the morning is the Champions League. He listens.
Really? Is that what he has?
Yeah, it is. He said it, that it's the Champions League. So I'm looking for somebody like that to carry us in those stages of semis. And when it's time to bag goals or put your head up, I look like Haaland as somebody, even though he's 21, he'll go there and say, lads, give me the ball. I will score. That's what I'm looking for Alvarez. But Alvarez, I have this other feeling. I don't know if it's just me. Looking at Alvarez, I have Alvarez who end up being the guy who surprises everybody. And then people start looking at Haaland and saying,
I think he's going to be really good, mate. I really do.
Because I started paying attention to him, because obviously you guys were in direct competition with us. Ralf Rangnick really wanted him. He's the one who basically told us to go after him.
I hear they refused. Is that true?
They refused it because they refuse all good ideas. Anything, if you have a good idea, send it to the Glazers. They'll say no.
Nope.
But what I think is really interesting, a lot like Nunez, both of these players are very, very raw. You can say that Haaland isn't raw, but watch him once he gets more refined. He'll be twice the player if he gets there, if he stays injury free. Alvarez is very much the same. Alvarez is touted as like the second coming of Aguero. That's not going to happen because Aguero is one of a kind, but I think you will see a very good player. The one thing I just wanted to point out, they're both very, very raw. So
100%. And talking about raw, because they are, Haaland has scored some incredible numbers he's put up there for Borussia Dortmund, for RB Salzburg. He's scored in the Champions League. No one's denying the talent and the potential and what's already available to us right now. Patrick, we've had a little look at Haaland's injury record, especially this season. Are you a little bit concerned by that at all?
Apparently, okay, so our chairman, who always speaks at the end of the year, he's been speaking for 14 years, which I find it amazing. It's just his little thing. He speaks and he opens up a bit. Sometimes he just hints things and never tells us, but sometimes he opens up on deals. Apparently, they told Haaland, our chairman just said it like a teaser, saying we told certain things to Haaland, which other teams couldn't offer, other teams couldn't guarantee. But we also spoke to his father, and we've been speaking to his father for 6 years, saying, we're looking at your boy. Are you willing to give us your boy? Apparently, his father was the one saying no. Believe it or not, apparently City asked for the for Haaland a long time ago, but his father, who was smart, by the way, said, no. We'll be taking him to teams that can play him. You get what I mean? Like teams that can give him a chance. And I know Leicester City were close to sign Haaland, and then their chairman came in and said, no, we're not signing this boy. I don't like the look of him or the attitude of him. But what I'm trying to say is, apparently we told him that he's going to be given rest. He's not going to, everything is not going to be on his shoulders. So basically, he was told that we are going to get more than one striker, and you don't have to play a lot of games. We'll make sure we handle your injuries well and better. That's what he was told. So it looks like he's willing to sit down, and the FA Cup is willing to sit down. Because let's be honest, at Dortmund, as soon as he's half fit, he was playing on painkillers in the Champions League. Half fit, he was being thrown. So I think that's going to help him. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know what you think, Jess or Jamie, who's watching the Bundesliga, that maybe for the fact that Haaland I was told that here we're going to rest you. Pep will make sure he rests you. And when he rests you, nobody's going to question Pep. Because apparently he was also told that here, if we drop you, none of the board will be like, why are you dropping our marquee signing? We'll know that he's dropping you for good reasons. So I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, go ahead, Jamie. I have thoughts on that, but go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, Patrick, I totally agree, mate. Just as a neutral watching in, who has seen Haaland obviously score a couple of goalies against us, scored against, Bochum, after being 2-0 down, and they still lost 4-3 in that. But yeah, mate, everything what you're saying, bro, is just spot on, mate. Obviously Haaland, from just watching him and just seeing how how explosive and how, passionate he is, wanting to play every game, and, taking painkillers, which I did not know until you just mentioned that to me, bro, that apparently he took painkillers, before a Champions League game, obviously Dortmund only had one true centre forward, Reina, the Brazilian one, by the way, Jesse, not Gio, wasn't cutting it. Makoko weren't doing it. But yeah, mate, I've definitely, been checking.
There, Jamie, you just cut off, bud.
Hold on, can you hear me?
Yeah,
hey, now, mate, go on.
Yeah. So,
you dropped you out again. Maybe drop. Maybe just drop.
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie. Maybe you just drop out and drop back in if you can hear us, mate. It might have a bit of issue with your with your sound there. Yeah. So I mean, that for me, I'll go from kind of my point of view. And again, I'm a Liverpool fan. I love nothing more than Haaland to become to City and be bang average and be mediocre. But yeah. Listen, I'll be like that. I'll be shameless in that way, because I think everyone would want Darwin Núñez to come to Liverpool and be bang average too, because that's what it's all about. It's the banter, it's the fun. But with Haaland, I mean, for me, Jesse will tell you on previous streams, we've talked about Darwin Núñez, and I don't think I'd have preferred him to have stayed at Benfica for another 6 months if he does come to Liverpool. And I have that feeling at the moment when it comes to Haaland. I think maybe he just needs another, might have needed a little bit more time just to make sure that, that this trajectory that we're looking at these players is going to continue to, rise to that, kind of situation that we think they're going to get to. Because it would be very interesting to see if, Haaland does stay fit. I think, as you just said, Patrick, he'll need to be rested. He'll need to be cared for. He'll need to make sure that he's not, playing with injuries or playing through injuries, or play into a situation where he is honest and open with the physios and the health practitioners and say, how is your body? How does it feel? And if he needs to be honest and say, do you know something? I'm feeling a bit of tension. I'm feeling a bit tight. That's what's going to be important. That a player who is fit for, say 70, 80% of the season is wonderful. But as long as they're not, they can be missing for a game, but if they become injured, they get a hamstring injury, they get this, they get that, they get whatever, and they get exasperated, that can be the real problem. I think we've all seen players who have been overworked, and we've not seen the very best from them in the long run. Morning, Anthony. How are you? Jesse, jump on in, mate.
Yeah, no, I just also wanted to say, talking about painkillers and inflammatory steroid injections, those are also really, really bad for you.
Yeah,
they can weaken your tendons over the years, and they there's a lot of teams out there who tend to use them really unwisely, especially if, let's just say, Dortmund and their medical staff wanted to say, hey, we'll pump you full of these once a week, every day till the end of this, or every week till the end of the season to get you through the next 2 months. Well, you should probably only have 3 in the same area of your ligaments every year at most. And even then it's ill-advised. So I think there's a lot of things that could go wrong. I was just thinking about that because I've had the same issue. And if you do it improperly, I could see a club throwing another club under the bus in 2 seconds. Obviously, they'll ask for your medical history, but
it's been done. It's been done. I mean, it's got a very famous one with Arsenal with Mark Overmars. They were fully aware that his knee was done, it was finished, and they, that information wasn't passed on. Not so much explicitly, but it was, he's fine right now. But what isn't fine in 2 years' time, he had to finish. His career was done. It was finished. And I'm not saying that happens to Haaland, but as Jesse says, he's totally right. They go, maybe you take the risk, shall we say?
We just forgot. That's all. We forgot to do the paperwork. It was right before a game. We did the injections, cortisol or whatever it is, and that's all she wrote. It's just one of those where you start getting to the really murky territory. I don't need to push around conspiracy theories though, because I'm sure that's not.
No, this isn't that kind of show. It's not Joe Rogan.
It's not Joe Rogan. We're not. This is exactly. So
do you know what was weird about Haaland though? This is the most weird one. It's only a few players that have gone through this. I think Gundogan went through it because Gundogan had his leg. His leg was damaged by the time he came to City. But Haaland, funny thing is, after he did his medical in Belgium, right? Then he went to Pep's special doctor. Remember the doctor that Pep trusts in Barcelona? Went to him again, and he got a special report that went straight to Pep. So I was like, did he trust the people in Belgium? Or was he, like the same thing you're saying, that did he not trust people in Belgium that they did the work? Because he went to Spain. Remember there was pictures and videos of him in Spain, and he went again to Pep's private doctor, the one who helped Gundogan a lot. And there was another report saying there was another report that was sent straight to the City Medical again, and to Pep himself personally, just to check. But it looks like, this kid is going to have to calm down a bit. I think it's good they spoke to him in that way. And I think if his father wasn't there, I don't think he was going to agree some of the terms that City were like, you know what, we're going to have to rest you and look after you. Because apparently his father was also integral in telling him that, look, they're doing this for your good, that you're going to have to, if it's FA Cup, you're going to have to come down. Unless they tell you that we need you, don't jump in. Because at Dortmund, apparently, that's the spirit he has, as Bellingham say. What's his name? Bellingham? I hate that name.
Bellingham.
Jude said Haaland always wants to play. Haaland will be on the bench with ice and say, I can go in, and they'll tell him, no, relax, calm down. He's like a warrior. He wants to play all the time. But he also understands that I have to look after myself. So I think it's good that his father told him that, you're going to have to calm down a bit if you want your career to go far. Yes, it's good that this team is offering you the fact that they can rest you and Alvarez can play instead of you. So we'll see how it goes. I hope he does well. I hope he doesn't turn into Lukaku, because I know Liverpool fans, Man United fans, and other fans from other teams are waiting for this kid.
it will be rough for you. If he does, it'll be rough.
Yeah, it'll be rough. It'll be a rough time on Twitter, on YouTube, on the bus, wherever it is. It'll be a rough time.
Can we just be clear that you guys did not get Haaland for 65 million euros? No one's buying it.
Oh, you mean 51?
Oh, 51 million.
Oh.
He was free. It didn't cost anything.
Something stinks.
No, you know what? I know that at the end of the day, those the fees that were paid to the agency, the ones that plus the split with the dad. But some Fab said the only thing that was being lied to by Dortmund, which has been exposed, is it was never 75. It was actually 51 million. I don't know why. They let what's his name? What's his name? Raiola apparently purposely said 75. He kept on saying 75 over and over because apparently he didn't want to say 51 until you sit with him in the room. They show you those numbers. Apparently he was purposely doing the 75, and it was also exposed that this whole thing, it would be active at a certain time, was also a lie. They were just trying to make sure
it was available all the time.
Yeah,
anyway.
He was. Apparently they didn't want people to just jump right away. Apparently,
know.
apparently the period wasn't the period they're talking about. Maybe it could have been last year, maybe, but apparently he didn't say. He had a few things that he was throwing, but I think at the end it's not the 51. At the end, I'm pretty sure there's fees that have been paid, or certain fees that were paid. But the good thing I can say is, regardless the fact Fab said certain teams also offered the same thing. I was just surprised, but I think fair play to his dad for telling his son. But it wasn't even hard because we've seen his son at the age of 14, 15 with the City jersey at the City games. So I'm pretty sure his dad didn't take much convincing, but I'm pretty sure he still wants to go to Madrid. One day he does want to go to Madrid. We all know that. But fair play to him because I think his dad told him that, look, play for this club. You love this club. When you're done, if you want, I'll more than likely say let's go to Madrid. But
get more cash.
But apparently Madrid last minute offer, as Fab said, offered him more cash, but they wanted him to stay at Dortmund and wait for Benzema to see how Benzema gets on, and he comes in. But anyway, it's fine. But you're right, Jess. I'm pretty sure the 51 was the close, but the deals with the agents, Raiola, obviously, God rest his soul, he's had some arrangements in there.
Yeah, the only other thing I want to point out, and this is pretty critical. Can you mute Jamie real quick? Sorry. Yeah, sorry. The only other thing I want to point out, and this is people disputed this at the time, and I think that there's some semblance of truth saying, well, he could have gone to Dortmund anyways. But the fact is, we were never going to offer him the release clause. And they've been putting in these 2 to 3 year release clauses in every contract, and you guys have one supposedly in your guys's. So do you have thoughts on that? Because in 3 years, I don't know what it'll be worth. It'll probably be worth quite a lot, I would imagine.
Yeah, the figure from City sources, the guy who was reporting that Haaland has signed, he reported that it's actually 250 million. It's actually not what people are saying. So apparently it's actually 250 million. Apparently City did not just want to bend over. They're like, well, if apparently City said, if Madrid really wants him, we've seen them do it before. We've seen them put the price up for Mbappe. 250, let's see if they come in. If we want to negotiate, that's what they say. So there's a 250. We'll see when it comes out. For me,
that's fair. Yeah.
For me, to be honest with you, that's a fair price. If he flops, he will still stay at City and we'll look after him. But
you see, this is it, isn't it? It's funny, isn't it, when we talk about these extravagant release clauses like 200 million, 250 million pounds, that within the next 5 years, I think we are going to see our first 200 million pound player, actual transfer fee by the way football's going. I think that within 10 years, we'll be seeing 200 million pounds quite regularly. We'll see 70, 80, 90 million pounds for not average players, but, your middle ground, sort of above average, 7 out of 10. Players. Yeah. Yeah, do you know what? As daft as it sounds, we look at it where it was. This is where we're going to end up, aren't we, with money? The way that the influx of cash within football, something will have to change. I think eventually this bubble will grow. We already did see 200 million done. Yeah, we did, but we did it roundabout though, didn't we? When it came to Mbappe, it was kind of around the houses. This was this fee and that was that fee, but a straight 200 million pounds transfer fee. I think we're probably 5 years away from it happening. So they're very clever at City to put that 250 in there to just protect themselves from where they are. With below average players for 80 million.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to dip, and if you don't, I'm going to have to ask you to kick you permanently from the channel. So just be clear.
But boys, now listen, Jamie, Pat, we really, really appreciate you coming on the show, boys. It's been a great show, really good chat. Great having a Man City fan here to give his point of view. An ex-Pep Guardiola disciple in Jamie over at Bayern Munich, giving his side of the story. Life after Pep. Jesse, fantastic for coming in. Everyone who's been in the chat, everyone's been in the comments, we really, really appreciate your time. If you've come to the video, you need to talk football, check out our other videos. Please stick a like on. Please subscribe. Give us a message if you ever want to be involved. We're always open for everything. Really do appreciate your time. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. Thank you very much. And we'll catch you on Friday. We're going to be doing Liverpool, my favourite club. And it's going to be a good time. So I hope you can join me for that one. All the best. Take care. See you later, guys. Bye-bye. Yep.